Hey, Owen here. Quite a few of you wanted to look around my workspace, so today I thought I'd show you around. So this is my workspace. The first thing you'll notice is these two 24-watt LED soft boxes, and they provide nice even light onto my work area here. And then I've got my camera, Canon 600D, suspended from the shelf overlooking here. So if we come down into the workspace, I have this piece of wood. It's just, I don't know what type of wood that is, but it's quite thin. So this one's got a bit disgusting. I'll probably repaint it, but this provides a nice white background for the videos for me to build on. And then the cool thing is it's I can just like swap it around. So if I've got another kit that I'm working on, I put that up there and I can grab that one and bring it down here. So I can work on like two things at the same time. So I'm sitting here, and to my right I've got a cutting mat which was kindly provided by Models for Heroes. So I'll cut all the parts over here, and then I can bring them to here to build the model. And then I've got my scalpel and its little holder that I made from a cork in a piece of wood, just to make sure it doesn't fall in my leg again, because that was not a nice experience. Then I've got my wet palette, which is again in easy reach. This is all to the right because I'm right-handed, so you know it's like easy to bring over. I've got some pins in case I need to make holes in things or use them to pin things. Over here I have nail files that I use as sanding sticks. I've got some syringes and these metal files, so I've got a flat one and a rounded one. Then I've got this pot which is just full of old brushes that aren't really suitable for doing model making. They're just like old ones, so they're a bit dried up in case I need old brushes for something. We've got enamel thinners, although I don't really use enamel paints that much anymore. I tend to have gone over to acrylic. I've got a pot here to put water in to wash brushes and stuff. And then over at the back I have my brushes, and I've made these stands specially. I used to store them upright like this, but then I read that the water and the paint that's left in the bristles can run into the ferrule, I believe it's called, which is this metal bit, and then that can ruin the bristles. So I've created these stands to hang them upside down, so the smaller brushes have little washers on them, and then they sit in grooves on this one, and then there's just like little bits of wire held in place with epoxy putty, and that's for the bigger brushes, and they kind of just hang like that. And then I have my separate brush. This brush I keep separate for applying decals, just so I know that it's a clean brush. It's not going to have like paint residue or thinners in it or anything, so it won't ruin the decals. I keep that up there. And then over here we have my storage. I have like a ridiculous number of Humbrol acrylic paints from starter sets and stuff. They're kind of getting a bit old and dried up though now. I've got some Viejo colours over here, and a bit more Humbrol, a few Revel pots up here. Artist masking tape, which I don't use for masking for painting, I just use it for holding parts in place while the glue dries. I've got some enamel gloss varnish, but I don't really use that. Got some decal fix, matte coat, and mascol. That one's full of junk, but then this one I have glue. So I've got some Tamiya extra thin cement and some Revel stuff, and I did have some Humbrol stuff, but that's somewhere else. I've also got some spare blades and resin glue in here, but I've never used that. And then over here I have pegs and clips for holding parts in place, some elastic bands, and some matchsticks and cocktail sticks for mixing paint. So that's all in that one. Model filler, Deluxe Materials Perfect Plastic Putty. Tamiya masking tape, which is awesome. I use that for painting. I've got a Tamiya scriber for rescribing panel lines, and to go with that, Dymo tape to use as guides for the scriber. Got some lead fishing weights in case I need to weigh down the nose of any planes to stop them from tail sitting. Microsol and Microset decal solution, which I much prefer to the Humbrol stuff. And then in this last compartment it's more about weathering, so I've got my chalks for if I'm doing chalk washes, or making exhaust stains or gun smoke. I've got Wilder weathering oils, which I use for oil washes. Got some of the thinners there. Got some bits of sponge for creating chipping effects or anything you want to use a sponge for. And then some cotton wool buds for just like removing excess off stuff. So that is quite a nice storage section. I actually made this out of cardboard that I just glued together to get me some extra space. I also added back and side pieces just so things don't fall off. Down here I have a toolbox which has lots of enamel painting, sandpaper down there and some extra glue. This shelf up here is for work in progress stuff, but then I've also got some fishing wire in case I need that, watercolour paints, milliput epoxy putty which is useful, extra matchsticks, and then up at this top shelf I have spray paint, so I have gloss, satin and matte varnish, also Humbrol metal coat and acrylic primer. And I keep those upside down because apparently it helps them stop drying up, and I also always take the nozzles off now. And I clean the nozzles using surgical spirit and a syringe, and that just makes sure that I'm not going to get any blocked nozzles in these spray paints. I've also got some brass primer for photo etch parts, and then there's some filler and other tools and stuff around in case I need those. So I do really like the setup. It's nice and bright. I've got my cutting area on the right so I can easily bring stuff across. I've got my wet palette there so I can easily paint from that. I've got all my brushes within reach over there and any extra tools if I need it. And then I've got all of my materials and other tools sorted here so I know where they are and I can get to them quite easily. And then I've also got the extra space up there to put stuff if I want to work on something else, and it looks quite good on camera, so that's what my workspace looks like. So there you go, that's how my workspace is set up. I hope that's what you guys wanted. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.